A story becomes a legend when it is circulated widely or regarded as the truth, or if enough people say it's true and it's generally accepted. It's kind of like speech acts or declarations that the American philosopher John Searle writes about, but about spooky or humorous things, or in this case, strange things, like the fact that Coca-Cola once contained cocaine, or the fiction that a bug can crawl into your ear to get into your brain. The strange legends that I'm talking about today are the realio dealio. Just like the real deal, most amazing top 10 sweater I'm wearing. Ew, look at that segue. Check the link in the description to check this out and other merch and use code MA10 for $5 off. Anyways, here's top 10 strangest urban legends that are actually true by me, Abby. Okay, at number 10, over in Maine, the man in the woods. A rumor in Maine's North Pond area went around that someone lived in the woods. People who camped or had vacations would have items go missing, and while the rumor persisted, it was often dismissed. Well, that was up until a game warden confronted a man living alone in the woods in 2013. Christopher Knight had been living alone in the woods for 27 years, and admitted that he was behind an average of 40 robberies a year. He kept tabs on the people visiting the area, took their things, and did his own thing without notice for nearly 3 decades. So when you think something goes missing and someone just says you lost it, maybe not. On to number 9. This urban legend comes from the urban center of Toronto. At number 9, the leaping lawyer. Around Toronto, you may hear the story of a lawyer who impressed articling students by running into windows to show how strong they were, until one day he broke the window and fell to his death. Now, this isn't just a story for the purpose of illustrating a lesson, this actually happened. Gary Hoy was known as one of the best and brightest at his law office. Then, after a reoccurring practice of running at windows, one day the pane popped loose. He fell from the 24th floor of the TD Center on July 9th in 1993. The self-defenestration led to his death at the age of 39. Now, the articling students he was trying to impress got much more than they bargained for, so take from this. You are not immortal, the worst can happen, and most importantly, look up to see if the building you're in is up to code to handle your weight being thrown out a window before you try it. Stay safe. And now next, at number 8, a more recent Toronto legend, Rubber Boots Man. One of Toronto's iconic myths and urban legends, just like that Spider-Man figure that rides the subway, is Rubber Boots Man. You don't know if it's true until you see him for yourself, but it's a great look. I've seen him probably a dozen times. If you've been walking around Toronto, you may have spotted him yourself. He's donning either a shirt or sweater with "I hate rubber boots" on it in all caps, and the man is wearing rubber boots. The irony is amazing. And his explanation is, "I don't really hate rubber boots, of course. Indeed, I've been totally obsessed by them my entire life, but it's fun to walk around in public, not just in my boots, but with the ironic statement, 'I hate rubber boots,' plastered across my chest." And gotta admit, the guy's a comedy legend. You gotta commit to the bit, baby. And he did. And that's how he is now an urban legend. You can become one too. Lesson for you. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is Lilian, also known as the Ghost of Malls. Sorry if my French isn't up to snuff. In the Malls forest in Switzerland, an urban legend circulated about a mysterious figure who walked around in a camouflage boiler suit and a gas mask that covered their whole face. Those native to the area gave him the name Lilian, as he was thought of as a ghost story in just that. And that was until 2013. That year, a photo was snapped of the local legend, and then people tried to search through the forest to find him. Because you see one photo and you're like, oh, this is real? And they just went on a hunt. And he wasn't too happy about this, apparently. He wrote in a note found beside a neatly folded boiler suit that his hikes in unique attire were happiness therapy, and that the media attention was not appreciated. He wrote that the media had 2 effects on him. 1, deprive a person of his harmless outlet, and 2, make others feel insecure. So take this away from the past 2 stories. There's some people that just want to go on some walks, you know? Respect that. Wear what you want. On to number 6, finding rats in a toilet bowl or other rodents. So, maybe you've heard that animals can show up uninvited to your home, but it's not always through a hole in the wall. You could hear some splashing noises in the middle of the night and find a rat doing some laps in the toilet bowl. You may blow this off because no way, right? But hate to break it to you, but yes way. Enough that it became an urban legend because it just sounds so unbelievable. Turns out rats and other rodents are attracted to the undigested food found in feces, which leads them through the sewers. Then they may smell some of the food scraps in your kitchen sink and go towards it, taking a detour to the porcelain throne because it's easier to access. The plumbing for toilets is usually 3 inches in diameter or more, which is plenty for a rat. So if this does happen to you, the pros say to close the lid of the toilet and flush. The rat will either swim back down or drown on the way down. Both ways, you get rid of the problem though. So that's what the pros say. Anyways, on to number 5. Why there are no flowers in Green Park. So there's a story told in London that adultery is the reason behind there not being flower beds in Green Park. Apparently, King Charles II picked flowers for not only his wife but also many other ladies at that park. Once his wife heard about it, it is thought that she ordered all the flowers removed. She didn't hate the playa, she hated his game. But apparently his game was too much even for her to try to rein in that reigning king, because he fathered at least a dozen illegitimate children. So flowers worked for him. Number 4. Medical students being assigned relative cadavers. So urban legend has circulated for centuries that people get a relative as a cadaver when they're studying bodies, or they can. Having to dissect into someone you share genetics with is never a comforting idea. I find dissection quite uncomfortable on its own. But this is a legend that has truly happened on more than one occasion. The most well-known occasion is from 1982 when a student at the University of Alabama School of Medicine in Birmingham pointed out to her instructor that one of the 9 cadavers given to the class could be her great aunt. And it was. Staff members at the medical school said another interesting point was that the student and her great aunt had discussed the relative merits of body donation to medical science. So they literally talked about the fact that her aunt could be dissected, and it happened to be her great niece doing the dissecting. The body was transferred to another location so that the student could focus on their work. But moving on, number 3. Cropsey of Staten Island. Cropsey was known in Staten Island as a boogeyman with a hook hand living in the woods by an abandoned mental institution. He would drag children out and carry them to the hospital, allegedly. He was a story parents told their children was not real because no, there isn't a man living in the woods kidnapping and disemboweling children, but children were disappearing. During the 70s and 80s, there were a string of disappearances. Andre Rand was convicted as a kidnapper and suspected as a child serial killer in many of these instances. He was the former custodian at Staten Island's Willowbrook State School before it closed. Jennifer Schweiger, a 12-year-old girl born with Down syndrome, was found dead in a shallow grave on the former property of the Willowbrook State School. The jury couldn't come to a verdict on a murder charge, but Rand was charged with first-degree kidnapping and suspected to be behind the disappearances of other children as well. Number 2. Charlie No Face, aka the Green Man. Still talked about in Beaver County is Charlie No Face, a man that roams the streets at night, sometimes called Green Man because maybe he was radioactive from an accident. Thrown away as a tall tale because of its unbelievable nature, this story is really true. The green on his face wasn't radioactivity, just a nose with injuries prone to infections. Ray Robinson was a man like any other, just someone who had a tragic accident when they were young. When he was younger, Robinson touched an exposed power line on accident at 8 years old that severely electrocuted him, resulting in his nose, lips, ears, eyes to be misshapen or just gone. He was raised from that point on in an isolated environment and took to walking the local highways when he wanted a bit of an escape. He was aware of the impression he could give off, so he went out alone at night. People heard the myth and would seek him out. The not nice people would pee in beer bottles to give to him or drive him to a random location to fend for himself, but the nice people would share beer and cigarettes with him, because Ray was just like anyone else. But on to last but not least, number 1 of strange urban legends, lawn chair aircraft. So local lore circulates Los Angeles about a man who flew in a lawn chair attached to balloons, and it's true. A man by the name of Larry Walters tethered 45 weather balloons to a lawn chair he purchased from Sears and flew up and away. Kinda sounds like the movie Up, but this is a lawn chair. His plan was to travel 300 miles through the Mojave Desert using an air pistol to pop the balloons for a controlled descent. Unfortunately, he traveled to a much higher altitude than he anticipated, and then a gust of wind tipped the chair when it was about 3 miles up and he dropped the air pistol. He ended up getting too high, and so high that he disrupted air traffic as he flew an unworthy air machine. That man had a dream to fly with balloons, and he did do it, but his descent was dangerous as he was nearly electrocuted by power lines. He did survive the event though. And that's top 10 strangest urban legends that are actually true. And have you heard of any urban legends that are based on true stories or are true stories? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, give a thumbs up to this video, subscribe, and hit the bell to know when new content comes out. I've been your host Abby, and have a good one.